What items do you need to provide when you send your child to daycare? This is going to depend on your child's age and on the daycare. So first thing you need to do is ask the daycare. But if you're here, you're wanting to find out some information potentially ahead of time or on your own. So let's jump into an infant first off. Formula or breast milk, you are responsible for providing their food. It's up to you. You also provide the bottles typically, and those bottles are going to need to be properly labeled. This is really important. They need to know exactly what baby's getting at what time. Obviously their name on that bottle. If we have multiple infants that are bottle taking age, it's very important babies are getting the right milk for themselves. I would recommend finding some reusable labels. When my child went to daycare, they were using a sippy cup, and I actually put a piece of tape on it every day. It was, I believe, masking tape with a Sharpie, and it was okay, but it was a short-term kind of solution. If you're starting off with an infant and they're going to be using bottles for a whole year, consider getting these reusable labels. So look into a wet erase marker versus a dry erase, potentially. So we got formula, breast milk, which it needs to be properly labeled too. And then you got your bottles with the labels. Now we need diapers, wipes, like a bum rash cream, potentially. You may only take this if the baby's having a rash. You may not. You may take it as preventative. Either way, make sure it is labeled. When it comes to diapers and wipes, my experience with a lot of daycares is typically you provide the diapers and wipes are sort of 50-50. Some daycares will buy wipes in bulk and use them for all the children. Some daycares expect you to provide. Other couple of items would be pacifier. If your baby's a passy baby, I would again recommend trying to get one where you can label it or put a pacifier clip on it where maybe that clip itself could be labeled. And then extra clothing. Blowouts, of course, happen, so we're going to need extra clothing. Growing up and getting into a little bit more of the baby stage, maybe 6 months or where food is introduced, a couple things that you need to add would be cups, again, labeled. And when it came to our daycare, my child took water to daycare. We didn't do milk, but they had to have a fresh cup for every time they sat down just for sanitation purposes. My child did a morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack. They had 3 water cups that went with them every day that were properly labeled. So look into that. You may not just need 1 cup for daycare. You may need multiple. So that's something to consider. And then food and snacks. Some daycares provide it all. Other ones that want you to. At one point, our daycare provided the snacks and we did the lunch. And then they switched and got a cafeteria situation, and we don't provide any food now typically. And then a blanket, they may start using a blanket or a lovey or some sort of a special item at nap time once it's safe for them to do so and at the proper age, of course. And then moving into more of the toddler, you may have previously taken baby's items in with a diaper bag each day. You may switch them over to a backpack. This isn't necessary, but at one point we made that switch. And then in this backpack, you will keep extra clothing, of course. If you are getting to the point of potty training, you need extra clothing and you need extra undies. Accidents are going to happen. You may need a jacket if they're going outside, and you may have needed this during the baby phase as well. Again, going to depend on your daycare, but jacket for outside, sunscreen for outside, maybe a sun hat as well, depending. I recommend as they become toddlers, putting them in tennis shoes every day. My kid can be wearing a dress. They still wear tennis shoes. We don't do fancy sandals. We don't do fancy boots. We do tennis shoes. That's just what we do. It's daycare. It's not a fashion show. That's just my opinion. And then when it comes to nap time, potentially a blanket, or at this point, they might use like a sleeping bag and be on a cot. So that's a potential item as well. Okay, a couple other random items that I've thought of that it's just really going to depend on the daycare would be a car seat. If you say do an in-home daycare and you allow them to drive your child, they're going to need a car seat. Potentially, again, most of these are going to be for in-home daycares. A pack and play. They may make you provide the pack and play for your kid. Possibly a high chair. Our daycare actually had us every month for a while doing a box of tissues or Kleenexes. So every month we would bring that in as well as we would bring in wipes every month and diapers. And then bibs. Some daycares I feel like want you to provide bibs and things like burp cloths, and others would prefer to just use their own and then they do the laundry themselves. And they're not as worried about losing items. And then finally, on a more medical note, any medicines, any information like that, obviously your daycare should have a list of like their doctor, emergency contacts. Also, if they have any conditions where they would need medicine, you need to have that on hand and make sure it is, of course, properly labeled, dosage is accurate with their current weight, and it's not expired. So look out for all those things. Final tips would be label everything. You are going to lose items as well, so don't send anything that you're just so worried about losing. If you can leave items there, I also recommend doing that. Sometimes that can actually be easier. So say their backup outfit, if there's a cubby or a place where that backup outfit can stay versus transporting it back and forth every day, that can be a great option. And then you have to ask the daycare, what do you guys provide and what are we expected to provide? If you watch this video, maybe you can write down a list of these items and take that list and be like, what from this list do we need to provide? What are we responsible for? And finally, in the description, I'm going to link an article I have written, and it is actionable steps to get prepared for daycare. So this is things like getting them on the daycare schedule and more so not items to take, but actionable steps to prepare yourself for starting daycare and prepare your child, of course. So check that out. It'll be in the description. If you like this video and feel like this content resonates with you, please subscribe to my channel so you can come back and find more videos just like this. Thanks. Have a wonderful day.